A Kapolei couple are currently being held without bail, allegedly having lived under false identities for decades and renewing passports over the years under the names of deceased infants. I interviewed attorney Michael Green, who is not involved with the case, to get perspective on all the talk of espionage and how serious the charges are against the couple. Walter Primrose and his wife, charged as Gwyn Morrison, allegedly lived as Bobby Edward Fort and Julie Lynn Montague since 1987. The defense attorney for Morrison says the wife wants everyone to know the Kapolei woman is not a spy, and that the decades-old photos submitted as evidence by the U.S. attorneys show the two wearing the same coat and hat as a novelty. So, if all the spy talk is speculation, can you hold somebody without bail if they're not charged with the most serious of offenses that's been mentioned, which is espionage?
With due respect to you and your question, bail is determined on whether or not you're a danger to the community. And if they can't show at this point they're involved in espionage, the question is whether they become a flight risk.
I interviewed a neighbor taking care of the couple's pet rabbits. He told us the husband and wife cared for stray cats. Another community member told us the couple cut lawns for $50 a month.
Oh, tell my wife, look, his wife is also there. She's on her hands and knees, pulling weed. If I was a spy, I wouldn't be cutting grass. I'm not going to be cutting grass for other people.
But the government has said the couple could have other aliases.
Who knows what name they would fly out of the country under? They're clearly a flight risk. Danger to the community, they don't need both. They only need one of the two.
Defense attorney Megan Cow represents the wife. She points out the couple is charged with an attempt to defraud the U.S., but not espionage. Considering count one, is that a broad charge or is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a general charge, but it's the language is that both of them conspired, which means they agreed with each other to make false, fictitious, and fraudulent statements.
But no charge of aiding a foreign government. And count two?
The allegation is they used dead children's names. Those are minor charges in the sense that they're both 0 to 5 years. But if you turn the page of the indictment, now you talk about false statements in the application of the use of a passport. That's a 10-year case, up to 10 years. But if they can show that it had something to do with terrorism, and I can guarantee you they're working on that, whether they can show it or not, then it's 25 years.
As for the more sensational concern of espionage and those infamous Polaroids, we contacted over a half-dozen researchers of the Soviet era inquiring about the style of the time. One wrote, "It does look exactly like the same coat, and she is wearing it with a t-shirt, something that would not be possible on official photos." Does that hinder the government's case at all?
No, they don't. They're not telling you everything they got. The photograph means nothing. You know, you come to my door, that photograph, I'll give you a candy bar on Halloween.
Per Green's point, the complaint reads, the affidavit does not contain every fact, piece of information, or evidence concerning the alleged violations. One section details the couple applying at the Department of Defense ID card office in Hawaii. The husband had sensitive access with a career in the Coast Guard and work as a defense contractor. On top of that, the U.S. Attorney's Office told us, we stated at a public hearing that an invisible ink kit was recovered. The circumstances are suspicious. Does the government have harder evidence? Is there an onus on the government to show us or to show the court in a certain amount of time while they're held?
The government has a right to produce and has an obligation to produce exculpatory evidence, things that can help the accused, but they also have an obligation to turn over to the defense the documents and evidence they intend to use to prosecute this case. And that's going to happen the next 90 days. This case wasn't investigated in a month. This thing has been going on for the investigation, in my view, probably for years. That these could be terrorists or people involved in terrorist activities, it may not be true. But in the meantime, I can tell you that our federal system doesn't like people using phony names and phony passports to travel in and out of the country into foreign places. You know, I don't have any disappearing ink in my house.
Endures. In an interesting development at her hearing, the wife, Morrison, refused to acknowledge her birth name and said, quote, "That's what they're calling me," a remark the judge noted when denying bail. The husband, in contrast, confidently admitted to his birth identity. Looking back further, the couple allegedly remarried under their new names in 1988, following a bankruptcy, and allegedly spun a story they were going into witness protection at the time. As one neighbor told me, it's like a movie that we are all waiting to see how will end.